All right, so boom. The Pittsburgh Steelers 2025 NFL schedule has been released. And for one, after I saw the opponents earlier in the year, it was just a matter of how they would structure out the schedule. It's not different from what it was last year because, call it what it is, it's relatively weaker on the front end and much more difficult on the back end. No disrespect to the teams on the front end, but truly, in my opinion, we can be beat by legitimately everybody. This is the one season in quite some time where I have zero optimism going into the year. There is nothing for me to be excited about for this upcoming Pittsburgh Steelers season. Now, do not let that, be misconstrued into not cheering for the team, because I would never call for my squad to go out there and just straight up lose and tank. I don't believe in that. You should always put your best foot forward and go and compete. Now, with that being said, am I confident? Absolutely not. First and foremost, we kick off the year with how hilariously they scheduled this out. We're going to see the New York Jets in week 1. Justin Fields is their new quarterback. We let Justin Fields walk. Truly, this is a winnable game for all intents and purposes, but why would I believe when we can go and win and put up points if we don't even know who our quarterback is going to be? We're still sitting here flirting with Aaron Rodgers. We drafted Will Howard, but for whatever reason, doesn't seem as if people are talking about him even projecting to be the starter if Rodgers doesn't come. Why is the conversation circulating around Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson? I would assume that Will Howard would be either 1 or 2. Why is this man not even be talking about as a projected starter? But whatever the case may be, we're taking on the New York Jets. This is a 50-50 game. For the sake of my sanity, I'm going to say we will win behind our defense making plays, and they're going to have to bail us out and put points on the board on the offense's behalf in order to go and get this W. And we're on the road at that. So with that being the case, I'm not necessarily concerned about us playing on the road in MetLife, because for all intents and purposes, MetLife is nowhere to, put any sort of fear into anybody, because the Giants and Jets have lost an incredible amount of games at home over the course of the past, 5, 6, 7 some years. It's ridiculous. I think primarily in prime time is the statistic, but one way or another. I'm just hoping we could walk out of that stadium without any injuries, because MetLife is notorious for having a terrible field to where everybody deals with leg injuries. So hopefully that's not the case for us, and we walk out of week 1 with a W.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Underdog just dropped their playoff basketball promo. With the extender, you can play your way to increasingly bigger boosts each round of the playoffs. Simply start a playoff series by using your Game 1 boost and continue boosting each subsequent game to unlock the next one. The longer the series, the bigger the boost. You're going to see just how serious it gets if a Game 7 just so happens to come around. So what are you waiting for? Do yourself a favor and click the link in my description right now and hop on Underdog. Use promo code Adonis and get started with the best way to watch playoff basketball.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Week 2, we're taking on Seattle. Now, they just signed Sam Darnold. They gave that man a whole lot of money. I would hope that, again, we can get bailed out on defense to go and possibly win this game. But I think we're going to mess around and drop this one. I would love the home opener to mess around and be a W. I just don't see it at this particular, point in my prediction. Granted, this is a revenge game for DK Metcalf. They traded him away. But again, who is throwing him the football? If we're in a situation where, call it what it is, if it's Rodgers, if it's Howard, if it's Mason Rule, whoever it is, if we're in a situation where they get protection up front, then all right. But I am concerned because our line probably is not yet well equipped to deal with the defensive packages that's going to be thrown at us. Because straight out the gate, you've got Glenn with the Jets, then we got McDonald over here with the doggone Seahawks, and then we're going to move forward as we continue to go down the schedule. But this right here, I think we're going to mess around and take an L, right? Hopefully we can get the W, but I think we'll take an L here. Now we're 1-1. We're on the road again, and we take on the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady are not there. It's been what feels like half a decade since we've seen the two of them on the sideline, albeit in Belichick's case, it's only been 2 years. But one way or another, this franchise has had our number for an incredible long time. Remember when Brady had left, we went over to play against New England, or I should say they came to come play us on like a Thursday night, and it was Bailey Zappi who lit us up for like 3 TDs when they were 2-10. I think it was back-to-back weeks. We lost to the Cardinals and the Patriots. I don't know what it is about us playing against New England. It's like an albatross. We cannot overcome these motherfuckers. I'm going to be hopeful, despite the fact that I said I'm not very optimistic nor confident in this doggone season. I'm going to sit here and say we'll get the W here, solely because I can't fix my lips to say that we're going to lose to the New England Patriots, despite the fact that they have dominated us over the course of the past 20 years. I just need us to get this W. Please get this W. Granted, new coach Mike Vrabel's now wearing the same, colors that he wore when he won those 3 Super Bowls on the field, but that's neither here nor there. We must win this game here. And defense, I'm looking at you. Take care of business so we can go 2-1. Then we're back at home, or I should say, we're overseas. I believe that we're playing against the Minnesota Vikings in Dublin. International game there. We're in Ireland. Hopefully nobody on the team is over drinking on motherfucking Guinness. We can go and possibly compete international. But granted, you got to take into account the Vikings are coming off of a season where they won the most games ever to be a wild card team with 14. But granted, change of quarterback. No longer is Sam Darnold over there, slinging the football around. They're going to have McCarthy most likely throwing the doggone football. So we'll see how things mess around and play out there. I would like to believe there's a game that we can mess around and win, but I'm going to say we're going to take an L here. So we're going to be sitting at 2-2, and we've got an early bye week this year. So we're on a bye after the first month of the season, and then moving forward, this is where the challenge really begins, right? Because it sounds crazy to say that the challenge begins playing against Cleveland, but I think we'll mess around and have to split against Cleveland again, because for whatever reason, we happen to keep these dudes in the game, and it's going to be a very interesting storyline, because quarterback room in Cleveland right now, I don't believe that Deshaun Watson will be back and healthy in time to go and play, because he's a bit older now, so recovering from, an Achilles kind of tear, it might take some time, and furthermore, I'm very curious after the first month of the season if Cleveland will even go back to Deshaun Watson, because I don't believe he'll be projected to start the year. So whether it's going to be Joe Flacco, who has a history playing against us, and if I'm not mistaken, he actually came in and led the Colts to victory over us last year. After Anthony Richardson had led a drive down into the red zone or whatever the case may be, and we ended up losing, albeit it was Justin Fields who was starting at quarterback this year. But whatever the case, I should say last year, but whatever the case may be, Joe Flacco has a lengthy history against us. Kenny Pickett could potentially have a rivalry kind of situation, because this will be the first time that he's back in Pittsburgh since leaving, Pittsburgh, because I believe we played against the Eagles in Philly last year. So whatever the case just so happens to be, it could be potentially Kenny Pickett, it could be Shador Sanders or Dylan Gabriel, who we passed on the 2 of them as well. So whatever the case just so happens to be, I think because we're playing at home, maybe we'll go and get this W, but truly, I think we're going to split with them regardless. So either we win on the road or we win at home. I'll go ahead and say we'll win here. 3-2 is what our record will be. And then we're on to Cincinnati, who virtually, for all intents and purposes, has no defense, right? But from where we sit right now, do we have an offense? No. So will we be able to keep up with them when the scoring barrage begins? No. I don't see that happening. We're going to lose and drop down to 3-3. Then we're all back at home again. Welcome, Green Bay. For whatever reason, we've played very good against Green Bay in recent years, right? Now, they seem to be on an incline, but maybe we'll take advantage here. I'll trust our defense to do what needs to be done. Again, questions regarding the offense, and if we happen to have Aaron Rodgers, which I hate the fact that I have to keep bringing this man's name up, despite the fact that he's not on the roster, but I guess we have to keep that in rotation when talking about the potential roster of the 2025 Pittsburgh Steelers. Could he revitalize some of that mojo when he sees the green? I don't know. But whoever's at quarterback for us, I expect our defense to go and make some plays here. So please get the stops up front. And moreover, this will be another real test, if not the biggest test, for our D-line, revitalized D-line, because we will be seeing Josh Jacobs. So if that being the case, we've got to make stops, because in the game against Derrick Henry, in the playoff game, this man, it was ridiculous, bro. They had what, almost 300 yards on the ground alone? Like, that's ridiculous, right? Collectively as a team, Baltimore. But I think Derrick Henry had like, what, 196? I forget, it escapes me. Whatever the case may be. All right, this is going to be the realest test thus far on the season as it pertains to stopping the run game. So I would hope that that is a fixture in this game to possibly go and get the W. And that would put us now at 4-3. See how we're hovering around that 500? It's a testament of Mike Tomlin teams, right? But for the most part, it's either we start hot or we start cold, we finish hot or we finish cold. Seldom do we have seasons in which we're just even keeled throughout throughout the year. But that seems to be what I believe in my prediction thus far. So we're going to be sitting here at 4-3, right? Won some games on the road, lost some games at the road. And then we're welcoming Indianapolis. I think this is a winnable game for us. This is a game in which we can get 2 games over 500. However, every time we find ourselves in situation in games you should win or games that you're projected to win, that's when we go and we underperform, right? So I think we'll mess around and take an L here. I truly don't envision a circumstance in which we win 2 games, in a row. And really, I just don't think that's going to happen this year, right? So we mess around, we take that L at home against Indy, and we're sitting after week 9 at 4-4. We're going on the road. We're going over to SoFi to take on the Chargers. The Chargers. Now, can they turn the football over a number of times for us to mess around and take advantage? I would like that to be the case, but for whatever reason, I don't see that happening. We're going to drop 2 in a row here, and now we're dipping under 500 again for the first time since, week 1? So now we're sitting at 4-5. We're at home taking on Cincinnati. Hey, we split with them last year, right? We gonna definitely split with them this year, right? Nope, I don't see it. We're losing 3 games in a row. We're at 4-6. I just cannot envision a circumstance of us being able to keep pace with that high-powered offense. We're bringing, they're pretty much their core of their skill players. They're all back. Right? So barring injury. Now, granted, their offensive line is still relatively cooked. I don't care if they add pieces or not. I just do not believe that the franchise wants to protect Joe Burrow up front. So I would hope that our revitalized D-line and that pass rush that we've been known for, well, maybe not so much as last few years. We haven't been Blitzburg since 2021? Whatever the case may be. I think we'll be able to generate some pressure, but I don't think we're going to be able to equal the points they're going to be able to put up. We're going to take an L there against Cincy. That's 3 losses in a row. We're now at 4-6. We're going on the road to take on the Chicago Bears. For the love of God, if we can't win this game, bro, pack up the whole entire season. I mean, we should already pack it up regardless. But if we can't get this W on the road in Chicago and Caleb Williams, lights us up, hey, let's just go ahead and throw those cleats over the damn extension cord, because I don't believe in tanking, but you might as well go out there and do it if you mess around and lose to Chicago. You understand what I'm saying? There's no reason why that should mess around and happen, especially if you're coming off of a 3-game losing streak. So we would now beat Chicago and advance to 5-6 here. See how we're still hovering around that 500? Now we're back home against Buffalo. Don't even begin the conversation. We're getting cooked. If you truly believe we can mess around and win this game, feel free to let me know in the comment section why you think that is. Because there is no reason for me to believe that is the case from where we sit right here on the 15th of May, 2025. We taking an L right there. We're back 2 games under 500 at 5-7, and now we're on the road to take on Baltimore. Here's the thing. For whatever reason, we always happen to either split or sweep the Ravens. Do I think they're going to get us twice in the season? They should on paper, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think after we take a loss in which we lose 4 of our last 5, perhaps this is where we get back to 500, or I should say 1 game below 500. We get somewhat back on track. We beat Baltimore on the road. Of course, at the end of the year, they're going to get us back, or maybe we lose this game and then we get them back at the end of the year, depending on the situation, because I think them and Cincinnati, well, primarily Baltimore, should be able to go and get this division unless something were to go and happen. Again, you can clearly see not as optimistic as I was in the past regarding the Pittsburgh Steelers season. So, you know what? For all intents and purposes, I'll say we'll drop this one because there's going to be some Tomlin, magic towards the end of the year. So, 9-8, yay, no losing season anymore, right? So at this point, we lose this game. Now we're down to, we're at that 8-loss area, right? We're at that 8-loss area. So we would have beaten the Jets, beaten the Patriots, got the Browns, got Green Bay, get the Bears. We're now at 6. And then now we're sitting at 6 and 8 entering week 15. Take on the Dolphins at home. Weather is going to begin to get a bit colder here. It's the 15th of December in Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football. I think Pittsburgh's going to take care of business and take down Miami, just because when it gets cold and Miami is outside of Miami, they don't play the same. We get ourselves a W right there. Now we're 7 and 8, and here is the magic of Mike Tomlin that's on display here. You're on the road to take on the Lions. Now remember, there's a flip situation with Baltimore, right? Either we beat Baltimore in week 14 or we lose to Baltimore in week 14, but it all depends on what the situation is for the Ravens at that stage. Because if we beat the Ravens first, but they're so far ahead in the doggone standings, we'll probably mess around and sweep them towards the end, because they'll probably have the division locked up, and now all of a sudden we're going against, some second string quarterback that doesn't, go out there and perform very well, and we just mess around and get the W at the end of the year, right? Playing against the Lions. No reason for us to win this game. But if we beat Baltimore, or I should say if we lose to Baltimore first, I think we'll beat the Lions. It's going to be some sort of miracle from the Lord to go and get this W. We'll somehow beat the Lions and then beat the Browns, beat the Ravens, close out the season 9 and 8. Or we beat the Ravens early, lose to the Lions, then beat Cleveland on week 17, and then all of a sudden week 18 comes around, Ravens got nothing to play for, and then we somehow get the W there, and then go on to 9 and 8. I say all this to say, in this incredibly long-winded dialogue, we're going 9 and 8 at best. Our floor, I would love to say it's still 9 and 8, because it seems as if Mike Tomlin is allergic to losing seasons. Is this anything to be proud about? Nah, not at all. Not at all. We're going to be middle of the pack again. Good enough to not suck, bad enough to not be good. So, Jets, W. Seahawks, L. Patriots, W. Vikings, L. On the bye week. Cleveland, W. Fuck Cleveland. Cincinnati, L. Packers, W. Colts, L. Chargers, L. Bengals, L. Bears, W. Now we're at 5 and 6. Buffalo, L. Ravens, W. Miami, W. Lions, L. And then W. Cleveland, W. Ravens, because they'll have nothing left to go and play for. And that's the season. We're at 9 and 8. Again. Playoff berth? No. Not this year. Not this year. Please, God, not this year. I don't want to endure that again. We got a ticket to the dance. Yay. And then we take it out. Nonetheless, I'm not very excited, as you can see. But I'm curious what your predictions just so happen to be. And again, this ain't no hard feelings to the fan bases of all those other doggone teams, because truly, hey, we can mess around and lose and flip a bunch of things around. Maybe we mess around and beat Indianapolis, and then we lose to Detroit and Baltimore. Or maybe we go and we beat, Minnesota by some miracle. Or maybe we beat Seattle or something. All I know is 9-8 is our future. And if Tomlin got the losing season, hey, let it be a situation where we draft high. All I know is middle of the pack again. Middle of the pack. That's the best we got to offer. Hey, I appreciate you watching the entire video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button on the way out if you haven't already. And on top of that, hit that notification bell as well. For whatever reason, YouTube's only showing my videos to 20% of my subscribers. So if you have already turned on the notification bell, turn it off, turn it back on. If you never turn it on, turn it on. I appreciate you.